least my body weight until then.
All right, guys, we got hot mics. We're going to rock and roll here. We got Alex Discordia in the house. We got Jason Kirby. I've known him on social media circles for some time. Get to meet the man in person here on the set of the I Love Seaville Network. And yes, Realty Partners, we're going to have a good time on a Monday morning. I feel good today. Real estate market is humming. The economy's doing well. You guys are dressed sharply. Kirby's been in the game for how long, Jason?
First licensed in 1999.
1999.
And in the industry total about 14, 15 years.
22 years. All right, we'll get you guys to slide a little closer to those mics, and I think we're ready to rock and roll. J-Dubs, how you looking over there? All right, give me 10 seconds and we're rocking and rolling. Smith, how you doing?
If I was doing any better, I'd be Jerry Miller. That's how good I am.
He changed it from if I was doing any better, it would be
illegal.
You've heard that one before.
I've heard that. Yes.
And so I've decided to change it up a little bit. You know, somebody said I'm enough of the dad jokes, so I'm trying to change it up a little bit.
But you're a granddad now. So
He is a granddad.
you can get away with it a little more now.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm going to make a note. Alex said it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a note. My children go, you know, you need some more jokes. And Jerry and I spend way too much time together, and he goes, you need some more jokes.
That's true.
He does, yeah. So Jason, what did you do before you got licensed?
Before license, I worked at a resort in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Oh, good.
And I was a customer service instructor basically there. Yeah.
You do a lot of we're going to talk about this once the camera goes live, but you do a lot of coaching and mentoring, which I'd like to dig into a little bit.
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
So, guys, we're ready to rock and roll. J-Dubs, we're in your hands, buddy. Good Monday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk, an insider's guide to real estate life and the pursuit of happiness. Just a gorgeous day in Central Virginia and the Commonwealth, guys. Charlottesville is absolutely hopping right now. This is the Monday Market Monitor, where we assess the weekend and the week that was, and we have three absolutely talented agents in the house today. Alex Discordia, we have Jason Kirby, we have Keith Smith on the Monday Market Monitor, which is presented by...
Oh, God, Yes Realty Partners, Closure, Title, and Ally Property Management.
There we go.
Did I do it good?
My man, Keith Smith, just hit a grand slam right there. That's the toughest question he's going to have.
That was the hardest question I got asked all day.
Absolutely today. Judah Whitcower is the director. Let's go to the studio
Except
camera.
for what you wanted for breakfast, but that was the whole...
You didn't ask me what I wanted for breakfast?
No, my wife asked.
Oh, your wife did. Okay, what did you make her?
It's like, good answer. We had our soft-boiled eggs.
Oh, fantastic. I love those.
Soft-boiled eggs, a little bit of French bread left over from the weekend.
Very nice, very European.
We have soft-boiled eggs every morning.
There we go, very good. Judah Whitcower is the director. Studio camera, Jason Kirby and Alex Discordia. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolute pleasure. Alex, your second rodeo on the show.
It might be my third.
Your third rodeo on the show.
Either way.
Jason's first rodeo, so we'll start with Jason Kirby. Introduce yourself to everybody that's watching.
Jason Kirby, I'm a realtor on the Beckham Real Estate team at Keller Williams Alliance here in Charlottesville.
Go
ahead.
What are your passions, hobbies, and interests, Jason?
Most of my time, honestly, is spent working, and I do enjoy my job very much. Outside of that, it's my kids, and when I can squeeze in some time for reading, going for a walk, that's about it. Very unadventurous, not that exciting.
I like it.
Yeah.
I disagree with that, but that's okay.
I also disagree with that.
I totally disagree with that. But you do some coaching and mentoring, which I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about. That's a pretty unique thing. You know, Yona and I do a little bit of that ourselves. So tell us a little bit about that, coaching and mentoring.
Well, you know, it's when I came to Charlottesville, about 5-6 years ago now, I knew essentially no one, and I had skills from being in the industry for quite a while, and I was showing up at the office every day, and while building that sphere and building the business, I just found a lot of fulfillment in helping out people around the office who were newer and had lots of questions, and I found it as enjoyable as helping clients. So now it's, you know, what I do for other agents it's a fairly informal structure. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I find it very fulfilling.
Well, we've been around each other for a little bit here
Yeah.
lately, and you have that very calm
Yeah, he does.
demeanor, unlike maybe me.
And me. Yeah.
Mr. Miller.
I would say you're very, I've known you for all of 15 minutes, but I would bet your friends and your stratosphere would say you're very consistent with your personality and your mood day in and day out.
Yes, I think so.
I've never bumped into you where you're not the exact same person.
Right, that's a compliment.
You can't, that is totally not the case here.
I'm envious of that.
Very much.
I wish my wife would say, probably your wife would say the same, right?
Yeah.
My wife certainly
Well, I
would.
think your wife and my wife are talking too much, but that's a whole
That's probably true.
That's a whole different story. So, Alex, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've been a realtor for 6 years now. I'm with Howard Hanna, Roy Wheeler Realty in Charlottesville, Virginia. When I'm not working, I enjoy being outside, spending time with my wife. I can say that now. And our dog, getting outside, going to the vineyards, breweries, hiking, enjoying all that Charlottesville has to offer.
So, what do you do in your free time? Assuming you have it.
Yes, as I was alluding, I've actually really gotten into disc golfing a lot lately.
Nice.
I've been playing ball golf as well, and you gotta differentiate between the type of golf you're playing because one's free and one's really expensive. But I've been playing a lot of golf lately. Been getting out and hiking, especially with this fall weather coming. It's a great
Scratch golfer?
No. But I've gotten down to losing only 1 or 2 balls per round.
Okay.
And that's another way to kind of rate how well you're playing.
Thomas Taylor, TT, what up? Alex is the man, very knowledgeable.
Ran into Thomas at the driving range the other day, actually.
Love Thomas Taylor.
Yeah.
Love Van Yeris.
One of the let's say, after effects or one of the results of COVID is apparently golf is exploding.
Well, especially when you've got to be able to convince your wife, your kids, everybody else that that's the one time where you can go out for 4 hours, your job, whatever it is, go out for 4 hours, maybe not get distracted or interrupted if you can. We're socially distant, we're safe. They started giving us our own golf carts.
Yeah, a lot of them are doing that.
Yeah.
Glenmore's doing that.
Yeah. I personally like it. Half the reason I pay the money is to go drive that golf cart around and see if I can flip it.
Do you play golf at all the courses, or do you have a home base?
Home base is probably Old Trail. Mom lives out there. She's been there for a while, so I get out to Old Trail. It's the best public course.
It's pretty darn good.
It is. You got the mountains as the backdrop. Go down to Wintergreen and play Stony Creek every now and then.
Very nice. Very nice. Smith, we got to get you out there.
Play golf? Yeah, I've lived in a golf course community since 1987, and I wouldn't know which end of a golf club to actually hold. I tell people all the time what we do is pretty stressful. Why would I want to go out on a golf course and get more stress? Maybe because I'm a bit competitive, and I'd probably would end up regretting it. My conversation with Yona is, can you please let me buy the new bike? Please, please. So I like the bike. That's my thing, that I just go do my Zen riding, or I'm on my own for an hour and a half today. I got my ride in this morning. It's a little bit why I'm perspiring still. Haven't had an opportunity to cool down yet. But look, what we try to do here on Mondays is kind of talk about what happened the week before versus another particular week, how everybody's weekend was looking. Do a little bit of crystal ball, what you two experts think about what the future is going to be. So, last weekend, did you see things uptick, things be more stable in your own little sphere of influence in your business? And Alex, why don't you jump in?
So I predominantly do sell a lot of first-time home buyer homes. So those are anywhere from the lower 200,000s to what has now become the mid-threes. Used to be the low threes. It's now
Sure.
the mid-threes. I have seen, depending on the offer, if it's detached home, I've seen a few less offers being made. Attached homes are getting gobbled up with, still 3 to 8 offers. So last week there was a property that, showed some clients, went very quickly, 3 days, 8 offers. Let's see, last week was also a closing week, so I did close on a property, 45 days. So if you look back to this time last year, trying to close in 45 days, you were biting your nails from the moment you wrote the contract. If you got it done, great. But the fact that we're able to start seeing closings happening on time.
Back on normal
back on
cycle.
Time. Yeah, not having to use the COVID addendum to make sure you've got your extra time.
So
Let's see.
I run the week over week on the Paragon monitor. So, last week, starting on the 4th, ending today, versus 2 months ago, it's interesting. We've been constantly talking about we need an increase in inventory. Well, 2 months ago, in that same week that we're sitting in right now, 85 new homes came on the market, the same as this last week. The difference is it's not that huge of a difference, but we're running about 10 or 20 more units going under pending, so we're kind of not going in the right direction as far as inventory goes. And so, Jason, what are you kind of seeing out there in inventory in your world?
So, it's interesting. I think we're getting, Alex and I were talking about this a few minutes ago, but we're noticing some listings sitting on the market just a little bit longer.
What do we define
And
longer?
Longer, being very relative in this market, of course, it's like instead of 48 hours, it might be on the market 6 or 7 days.
Got it.
And usually around day 3 or 4 is when a homeowner with their home on the market begins to get cold sweats because they wonder what's wrong with my home.
That's nuts, right?
It is. So we have to, from the initial point when I'll meet with a client, we talk about the broader market in general over the past several years, because normal is very relative. I had a boss one day that said, there is no normal, right? And that's true. It's just that the first 6 months of this year were so traumatic for so many home buyers that we're still feeling a lot of the aftershocks of that. What I do like that I'm seeing now is that home buyers in the market are taking a little more time, maybe sleeping on before they decide to pull the trigger, and are actually asking, hey, what do you think this home is worth? Before they're saying, I need you for the next few hours to write an offer. We just looked at the home.
A few hours, I need it written in about 30 seconds.
That too, yeah.
So I say it went from absolute insanity to maybe just insanity, right? It's somewhat getting normal, which is what everybody on this side of the table wants.
Yes, very much so. I look forward to it getting even more like that. I think we need more inventory on the market. We should have more market time, and we should have a bigger spread between the list price and the sales price. Mm-hmm. But then again, this past week for me was a few closings and a few more ratifications.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Jessica Kirby giving you props. Is that,
Yes.
That's your wife?
Yeah, and a past client as well.
Very nice. Hello, Jessica.
Well, you can just let that one drop.
But
That's how you guys met?
No.
Okay.
But it's funny when you're in a deal and you're married.
I did it myself.
You forget
We weren't married yet.
that your spouse is actually a client, and you have to actively manage that transaction in a very different way than you would with a regular client. But but this past week, of course, while being very successful, these were relationships and clients I had been nurturing and working with for a long time. The timing just happens to be, it all comes together like that.
So one of the reasons I was really super excited about having you two here today is we have a little bit of separation of time in the business, right? Alex, a little younger in the business. You and I have been in the business for a little bit longer.
22 years for this man.
22 years. I think I was born in it, but that's a whole different story. The reality of it is I like to use the days on market as kind of a guide.
Yes.
Right? Some realtors like it, some don't, but to me it's a quick snapshot. And we were talking about 48 minutes versus 7 days. So from your two perspectives, what do you think a balanced market needs to be on days on market? Does that make sense? You want to try?
I'd like to see 21 to 30.
Get a little,
I'd like to see 21 to 30.
there we go. 21 to 30 for you. You were mentioning almost 45 to 90, right?
I think when we look at what a balanced market is, it's 6 months of housing supply.
There you go.
And I really think that we should be looking at, a couple months, a few months as being a normal market time. And I know that sounds so crazy to most people that are probably listening and watching, but that is really more normal.
Well, that's
than what
kind of
we're
like everybody
experiencing.
thinks 3% is normal mortgage rate, right? But it's not.
No.
It's not.
No,
normal.
it's not.
No, that is a good thing we should go back to and talk about on the week, though.
So here's the question for you guys. Will we, and I'll throw it to you, Smith, will we see in a market that's so under inventory, will we see 45 to 90 days DOM anytime in the next few years?
Oh, a few years is a hard crystal ball to go at. I don't think we're going to see it in 2022. I think that is probably the furthest out that I feel comfortable with doing it. I don't know how these two gentlemen feel about that, but I'm in Jason's ballpark. I've been doing this for 3 decades. Normal is somewhere between 60 to 90 days as far as on market. We've got a long way to go before we get to that level. But look, here's the reality of it. This may be the new normal, right? The new normal may be under 30 days.
I think we're establishing a new baseline for sure.
Correct.
So much has gone on since the Great Recession, and this is our reality now. Yeah.
Especially with Charlottesville just increasing to become, a more popular place by the minute to live, and the surrounding area of Waynesboro and the healthcare system that we have here. I mean, the desirability to live here isn't going anywhere anytime soon. So I think, those days on the market are going to stay low, and for who knows how long, like you said.
So, brother, you've given some knowledge. You need to get a little bit closer to the mic.
UVA's hiring more people getting in the job force here. More people in the job force means they need more places to stay. We've got fantastic facilities like Dairy Market that are opening, that are gentrifying neighborhoods.
Just won some awesome awards.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are the experts here. I just learned from you. I don't see this market getting any more stable anytime soon. We talked about the influence that increased rates could have on the market. Even with increased rates, even if it goes up a point, that's still cheap money, fellas. Your thoughts,
Very
Jason?
much, very much. I had a client, we're at a new build up on Route 29, and purchasing with a VA loan, she's not putting any money down, and it's a condo community, and I asked her, I said, how do you feel about things right now? The decision to move forward on this. And she said, Jason, I look at what I'm going to pay per month. I'm not looking at the price of this home, but what I pay per month. And she points right across the street, and she said, she's getting a 3-bedroom condo. She said, my friend is renting a 1-bedroom over there for more than I'm going to pay on my mortgage here. And so it's all relative. The prices are not sky high, because when we look at the cost of money, it is still cheaper to own than it is to rent in this market.
So, Alex,
Absolutely.
I want to jump in on
Well
this
said.
one here,
Yeah.
but we see this all the time, and maybe the general public doesn't see it, or the folks who are watching and listening. Most people come to us not so much what the interest rate is. Price is important, but it's really about what I can afford a month.
Yes.
And as Jason was saying, you can buy right now cheaper than you can rent.
Yeah, and I'm a perfect example of choosing to stop renting when you can buy for the same price now.
You've done that yourself.
I did it myself, and I'm now paying less than I did when I rented. So,
And you're building equity.
yes, absolutely.
So I sent you guys a prep question, one prep question for here to kind of do a little bit of studying. And I was asked this question early in the week, and I didn't have an answer to it. I'd love to bat it around. It came from more of a national statistic that there seems to be the investor component is more in the single-family detached home business now, or buying homes, than they have in forever. So in our little worlds, in the last 24 months, are you seeing the same thing? I know it's hard for us to research it in our equipment, but Jason, you want to jump in?
I think our market is unusual when we think about real estate investment and what everyone is different, of course, in terms of their goals and expectations, right? But in our market, it is very hard to buy cash flow in real estate. And typically the investors that we look at who might be looking at a single family detached purchase are looking at speculation.
Sure.
Right? So it's quite tricky. I would say in the past couple of years, without thinking condo attached, detached, probably about 1 in 10 of my clients it's been an investor transaction, and that's on the list side and on the buy side. However, quite a few of those were consultations with seller clients who decided to hold their real estate because they're not getting those returns in any other asset class.
And buy something else. Rent it.
Whether it was, that or move the money into stocks or bonds, the Treasury return right now is lower than inflation.
Sure.
Why, I own Treasuries, but still, it doesn't make sense if
I
you're
love
looking
this
for a return.
conversation. I love this
He's getting all
conversation.
excited.
I know, this is what I do.
But it doesn't make sense in terms of what people can get. I had a client buy an investment property last week. It's a new build. It's the model home, and the numbers are great. But those are harder and harder to come by in this market. So I think Charlottesville, when I think personally 1 in 10, I would say, nationally that number is probably higher. I heard someone throw out a number that last year, 1 in 4 homes was a
Well,
second home.
that's
attached.
the report that I'm citing here, and that's the reason I wanted to have this conversation. So Alex,
Yep.
you sell all over, but you mentioned that you focus a lot on first-time home buyers. Are you feeling that you're competing against investor buyers, to your point?
Not as much as they think. You find a lot of 20% down and a lot of cash buyers that are buying for themselves but not investing. Cash gets thrown around in this market, but I personally am seeing, if it's cash, they're actually buying it to live there, either as a second home or they're downsizing and they want to live off. I have 3 cash buyers out of 17, and only one was an investor.
That's 2021?
Yeah. Well, 2 years, so 24 months.
Okay.
One was cash for the buyer. One was an investor. Yeah, second home.
So you're not competing against investors, but you are competing your clients.
Depends on the price range. That obviously has, a big impact. I saw it more actually with the attached units because they're easier to rent. You can get 3 traveling nurses into a Pavilions at Pantops attached unit and rent it out and make a pretty good profit.
Sure.
Another example was down in Stony Creek, Wintergreen, where you can rent it out on Airbnb, and if you want to go live there 3 months out of the year, you can.
Well, the ROI on the attached return on investment is a little better because the price point's a little lower. A single-family detached is a little high. So I when I read that, I was like, I'm going to ask you guys this question because I don't see it. In the last 24 months, we do 50, 60 transactions a year. I literally can't think of one that was investment. Had a lot of cash buyers.
Right.
But we didn't have a single investment buyer in the last 24 months.
And I think you hit a good point there. The numbers are much better in, like, say, Nelson, because there was definitely a shift of Airbnb money to Nelson. We personally benefited from that, just seeing some listings fly off in hours from people out of the area, and the numbers are great for them.
Well, the rental out in Lake Monticello versus Charlottesville for a 2-bedroom, you're getting a different product, but the price point's about the same.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just, but I just thought I'd throw that out to you guys because to me it was just, it caught me a little bit off guard, and I don't see that here. And in our Paragon, we can't figure out who the back end is. You have to really dig into the GIS information, the tax information to do that.
Yeah.
Charlie Mayer giving you some props. Looking good, guys. Charlie Mayer loves this gentleman, Alex Discornia. Margaret Davies, welcome to the broadcast. Daniel Pettit's got some questions for you guys. That's all that I'll throw to you. Daniel Pettit says he's seeing some homes in Lake Monticello that are getting a little long on the tooth, 30 days on the market at Lake Monticello. I'm seeing some price reductions. Do you think that will continue in future as people listing at high price hoping to sell? Do you see price reductions being a commonality? Jason Kirby, why don't we start with you?
So I do think you're going to see that more and more. And I think one of the reasons why is, a lot of the sellers that are currently coming on the market are informed by what happened over the past 6 months. And so part of an agent's job is to kind of coach them through that shift that has essentially occurred in the market. One of the dangers that a seller engages in when we see like 30 days on market is most frequently that they are pushing the envelope in the price. But when we see homes selling for, say, 1% below list price, and a seller has decided to push it 10% above the market range, the buyers just don't put in an offer because they've been coached that the home is going to sell for what's being asked for, and they don't sense the value in it, so they pass on.
Well, they don't even show up.
Dude, this guy is good.
Or they don't even show up, and so we tend to see then longer days on market in those cases, and I think whether it's in Lake Monticello or wherever, we've been noticing this since mid-June.
So here's a good question for both. This, Alex, why don't you tackle this one?
Go for it.
This is from Steven. Steven is watching in Crozet. Where's the first-time home buyers market or neighborhood in Central Virginia?
I mean, Lake Monticello is a great example of it while we're on the subject. But they are dwindling. They're definitely dwindling.
Quickly.
Yeah.
Where else are you seeing first-time home buyer
Nelson.
Real estate? Nelson?
Just further out into rural areas. Zion's Crossroads booming right now.
Waynesboro is great.
Waynesboro, absolutely. We were just talking about Afton Mountain. And half of it's in Albemarle, half of it's in Nelson, but you get just on the other side. And I would say those are some, but he said specifically neighborhood. Lake Monticello is my #1 go-to first-time home buyers neighborhood. He'll tell you. He coached me on it.
You agree?
Hands down.
I lived there, I agree. Yeah, I mean, that's where the price point is, but
If you're willing to drive 25 minutes, it's really not that bad.
I can get from,
The amount you can get.
25 is a little long. I can get from my house to the park in the studio. To get
I don't drive as fast as you, Keith. I think that's the difference.
Well, then there's that.
That's true. That's true.
Then there's that, because I do tend to get speeding tickets on 53. But look, to go back to the price thing and the normalization of the market. So 2 months ago, so there's one of our factors we look at is price changes in our market monitor. 2 months ago, I just won't quote the exact number, but there was double the price changes as there are this last week. So what's happening, 2 months ago, I think people were saying, hey, the market is high, let's do a 10%, 20% over where the market is. Now it's starting to come a little bit down, because we're like at 17 homes or 19 homes at Lake Monticello on the market. But I want to pivot a little bit, unless you got a quick question on
No, go ahead, please.
Pivot a little bit. Why do you love what you do?
Why do I love what I do?
Remember all those coachings we did for you?
Before real estate, I was in sales. I was a bartender at Pippin Hill, wine taster to be technical. I'd been in sales, and I really love working with people. The biggest decision you're probably ever going to make in your life financially is buying a home. And to bring in my psychology degree to it, the psychology of the sale really plays into managing your clients, managing emotions, and managing negotiations. And at the end of it and at the core of it is people. Our people.
But that's a big move, right? I mean, most folks...
Well said, Alex.
But sales, I love the competitiveness of it as well. I do. I do.
We believe you.
Yeah,
I agree.
this is,
One of the things, and I'll probably say I learned it from Keith, is you're going to learn in real estate, you're going to get enough no's that you're like, oh yes, another no. It's closer to a yes. It's closer to a signed deal. It's closer to ratification. It's a numbers game, and also the ability to manage your time.
So this is most folks, this is a big pivot, right? This is a big pivot going from a secure, I think it was a corporate position that you had prior to it, to an independent contractor, going from something that you...
I skipped the corporate life.
But you were on a steady paycheck though, right? From a steady paycheck to working for yourself.
Especially for a newly married man.
Well, he was...
That was in the works.
He was still trying to make that sale.
Because you've been with your gal for a while.
7 years.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it's not like this was a surprise that you were getting married.
Well, to give her credit on my real estate career, she fully willingly said, hey, let's go buy the house before we get married. So, great financial decision as a couple.
But she supports you, and that's the point I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
So, but talk about that pivot. That's a big pivot. What made you make that decision to go from a steady paycheck or a corporate position to one that you may not get paid, right?
I guess I was at the cliff with the service industry, and I just wanted to jump off and get in some uncharted waters and get uncomfortable. If you're living life comfortable, you're never going to be any more successful. And I was tired of living the same way for 7 years, and I made the jump. COVID helped. It was definitely timing. I don't think timing-wise I could have made the transition as smoothly as I did when I did.
Yona said, bravo. Yona Smith is watching. And I believe she offered some insight into coaching for Alex Tiscornia. Is that
absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
Yona Smith says, and we love you, Yona. Bravo, Alex Tiscornia. We always knew you had it in you.
Thank you, Yona. Appreciate it.
Yona Smith is A+ people.
Absolutely.
Choice in men. Jason, what made you make that move from that corporate paycheck to...
So I was working with my realtor to find my first home, and I just thought he had an awesome job. And, he was great. He was a mentor, and I went straight into a 100% commission company. No coaching, no training, but I had him, and I could call him regardless of the hour. And no matter the mess that was made, he would make me laugh.
Oh, and is this the person we're thinking of?
No, this is someone no one here knows.
No,
but this is in Phoenix, and he was great. Cool. But for me, it's very fulfilling. I had an experience the other day, and I manage, I handle transactions, a wide range of value. So I helped this amazing person buy a home recently, and we had to drive 45 minutes out to find the right thing. And right around closing, she hugged the beam on the back deck. And single mom, this experience profoundly changed her future and her child's future. And that is, for me, what it is all about. It's getting those people through to the other side to where they're happy. And for me, this is a customer service job. Yes, I help people with being better at sales, but really it's all about service.
It's about education too, right? To help educate folks.
Very much so.
To go, you spend a lot of time educating, re-educating.
I do.
That's where the no comes. Okay, no, it's just okay. Let's
Yeah.
educate a little bit more to go ahead and go through that.
The better I can prepare my client for that experience, the more smoothly the transaction goes for them and the less stress there is because I've prepared them for that kind of thing.
We quote the good doctor Lisa Sturvin all the time, but our industry, and including Jerry, is the second in GDP in the state, right? We produce more revenue as an industry next to the government. But, just to kind of play a little bit more off on this, Alex, our basic three things, like food, right? And shelter's one of them. Clothing is another one. On that end of it. So we're the top three things on it. So let's just expound on this a little bit more. You're not giving yourself enough justice because I know you're really good at this stuff, really good at helping people. So let's talk about how you can talk a buyer and first-time home buyer through this decision process, because a lot of them are giving up, right?
Yeah.
So what does that conversation look like?
Well, for those of you that know me and those of me that don't, I'm a brutally honest guy. I'm not afraid to just cut to the chase and tell people sometimes what they don't want to hear, but what they need to hear. Because without honesty, what do we really have? You're just going to waste each other's time. So I typically start, the first thing I do, of course, is getting people pre-approved. You've got to get pre-approved. You've got to work on your credit. You've got to start budgeting and saving money. So the first thing, of course, is finding a way to finance the home, first and foremost. And it's the biggest hurdle, because people will think it's this big thing, and you can go online right now and get approved. And if you have your taxes and your pay stubs, you can do it in 20 minutes. I've had clients do it day of making an offer, get pre-approved with a local lender, make an offer that day.
We suggest Scott Morris.
Scott Morris.
That's a local lender. One of the partners of
Great plug.
Real Talk and Money
Great plug.
Market Monitor.
Money Market Monitor. But
Hello, Quentin Beckham. He's giving everybody props on this table. We love you, Quentin Beckham. We love you.
So I'm quoting NARS here. 38% of the sales so far in 2021 have been to millennials.
Yeah.
That's your age group.
Yeah.
So
Can you characterize the frustration millennials are experiencing now?
It's frustrating. I have clients that have written 3 to 5 offers, and some of them got it on the 3rd, some of them got it on the 5th. It's frustrating.
But do they hang in there?
Almost, I would say 9 out of 10.
There you go.
Absolutely. Because especially right now with the market moving, like we were just talking about, interest rates have climbed, especially over the last week.
A smidge. Scotch.
But that is enough that when people 2 months ago were looking at how low their interest rate or however long ago, it's enough to be like, oh my God, we really
You're
need.
saying it's motivating.
Yeah, it's motivating them. Absolutely,
Well,
it's
that's
motivating.
because of that monthly payment, right?
Yes.
So that half a point, 3/4 of a point, quarter of a point, full point
Yeah.
changes that dynamic of that monthly payment, which then affects the ultimate purchase price. So these buyers are not necessarily looking at, well, what the rate is and what the sale price is, oh my God, that's getting close to what I'm paying for rent. I better jump into the market. But Alex, what tools are you using to keep them in the game? Because we hear this all the time. I want to give up, and then it gets back to the education component, right? What kind of education?
The biggest tool is just the honest relationship that you can have with your clients, giving them weekly, daily if you can, but weekly market updates on, hey, these properties sold in your area for this price.
Hence the Monday Market Monitor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully.
So weekly market updates, but back to coaching and how valuable it is, whether you're coaching another realtor or coaching your client. Just staying in communication and coaching your clients is, in my opinion, the best tool is communication and honest communication. And your first-time home buyers are going to need more attention than your second and third-time buyer, and sometimes even your listings.
What do you think, Jason?
Need
Jump in
more
here.
nurturing.
I totally agree. Yeah, absolutely. The level of experience of a client typically will determine how much attention or hand-holding they need throughout the process. And usually when times get tough, it's coming back to the original goals. Why did we come to get together to begin with?
Yeah.
And a lot of that, sometimes you can meet a client in that initial consultation or meeting, wherever you have it, and you get a sense for whether this market is right for them or not. right? And so you can kind of pivot in that conversation and really test their resiliency to go through with it. And we talked a bit about investors versus someone who's about to have a child and needs a bigger home. The difference between those two in terms of motivation is profound.
Sure.
The one that needs bigger space for their family is going to have more motivation to go through.
And need the help, right?
Absolutely.
And need the
Absolutely.
coaching. And it's interesting because one of the other stats, and you guys got 170 something pages of stats that we sent, but I talk about this all the time. This iPhone I'm holding is a great place to start, but about 80 to 90%, can't quote the exact number because I don't have it in front of me, uses a real estate agent for the transaction.
Yeah.
So let's talk about let's talk about our first meeting. I'm a first-time home buyer. I've found both of you guys on my trusty iPhone 12, soon to be a 13, on that Pro with 3 cameras on it.
Make sure you have stock in that company.
Excuse me?
Make sure you have stock in that company.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'll
Yeah.
call the Erpies. I'll get it taken care of. So Jerry said do this, and it gets done. But talk about the initial conversation. I'll let you jump in first, Jason. So I'm sitting down. What does this first conversation look like?
Typically, I want to know why you're interested in buying a home. Why now and why here?
Well, here interest rates are going up.
Yeah.
Right. So, but I don't know what to do. What should I do?
Exactly. Part of the process for me is a series of questions where I'm essentially qualifying the interested party to make sure that this process is right for them and also that they're ready for it. Many people are ready to jump in and buy a home, but they haven't learned about what the costs are, and you touched a bit on that, right? We want to make sure they understand what kind of cash outlays they're going to have during the process, what they can expect in terms of competition in the market, so that they just feel prepared when we go and see that home that's perfect for them, and we see a line of people behind us. They aren't scared. They know we have their back. Ultimately, what I want them to know is that our job here is to serve as their fiduciary. And so and it's key in our industry because we're paid if a transaction closes. We are not paid if it doesn't. However, our duty is to make sure we guide them to the best decision possible in every situation. So every
Regardless
year,
how it
Dude,
is.
this guy is legit. I'm giving you the props here. You're legit here.
well, and regardless of the situation or the price of the home, every year I talk at least one seller out of putting their home on the market. I talk at least one buyer into terminating a deal. And I know fellow agents may get scared when they hear that. But if there's something wrong with the deal, I'm going to tell them to get out
So
of it.
Alex, jump
Yes.
on that because I've been
Yeah.
involved and I know you've done this before. Tell folks what that looks like and what that means. Where you might have to have a conversation with somebody. This may not be the right time.
Yeah, and first time home buyers that you might find something wrong with that house that is a deal breaker. It's always better to pay $300 to $3,000 to have a professional and an inspector look at your house, and if something's wrong that would cost $10,000 to $30,000, walk away.
Absolutely.
You just took the less expensive way out. Because whether it's well, septic, structural foundation, if you need an all-new roof and all-new windows, it's not worth it. It's not an investment. At that point, you're going to be in a money pit. And if you haven't seen the movie Money Pit with Tom Hanks,
It's awesome.
yeah.
So Alex, that's exactly right. The answer may be, look, we're getting 85 to 90 new homes on the market. Because sometimes what will happen is the client will get all super excited and want to do something, and sometimes you have to walk this client back a little bit and go, look, as you said, there's $30,000, potentially $30,000 worth of work on that. So continue that conversation. What happens next after you do that? You kind of give them, what would be your next step?
Well, like Jason said, at the end of the day, they're going to make the best decision that they're going to make for themselves. And you're going to help them, you're going to lead them to making that decision. I'd say 3 out of 4 times, maybe even more, 9 out of 10, they're going to make the right decision. But every now and then, as you said, you're their fiduciary responsibility. Your responsibility is to, at the end of the day, do what they want to do. If they want to make an offer on the wrong house and buy it,
It's true. It's
I'm not going to talk them out of, only to a certain extent while I try and talk my way out of a deal. And that's only to protect face and professionalism, that nobody would be able to come back and say, well, you didn't tell me about this.
Well, I learned this from Michael Guthrie. Be professional, be caring,
I think Michael's watching.
and be trustworthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
I'd rather be
And-
trustworthy than ever be accused of selling somebody a house.
And the professional level, so, that shows, he told me that once, many years ago, and
Yeah.
I keep that on my phone, and it shows up on my phone every day at 5:30 in the morning. And I tell you, I struggle every day to get at that. People ask me why I do this show. It's because it helps me with those three things.
I had a teacher years ago who said to a class, heaven help you if any of you ever actually sell a home in this industry. It's not what you're here for. And I believe that.
Man, you're dropping this guy's poignant. Evan Hansen, giving you some props right now.
Evan's
this is
great.
why Jason is so great. He genuinely cares for his clients and is so steady in his demeanor.
Thank you, Evan.
Yeah.
Evan's awesome.
You got you got a current car president and 2 past car presidents watching the program. Cindy Miller, welcome to the broadcast. A lot of questions coming in here. Michelle Schneid, welcome to the broadcast, and thank you for joining us. Avenue, welcome to the broadcast, and thank you for joining us. So, gentlemen, your crystal balls for Q4 as we go into 2022. The spring market, as I've learned from you, from Quentin, I'm going to do 3 shows, fortunate to do 3 shows alongside this guy a week. So it's like an MBA in real estate every week with these guys. The spring market is no longer the spring market. It's like the Q1 winter market. Mm-hmm. Do we see that next year as well? Do we continue this momentum into next year? What's the crystal ball saying? Alex, why don't you start?
Last fall and winter were my best months ever. I think we're going to see that again this fall and this winter. I think we're going to see a lot of people trying to buy before next spring, because with interest rates going up and again supply and demand being what they are, and that's my personal thought, is that this is going to be another great end to the year.
Jason?
I disagree. So, and I know,
Fair enough.
So you're
totally
bearish,
wrong.
not bullish?
What I think with kids back in school now, we're going to revert to the mean, and we're going to return to the traditional cycle of a quiet winter, busy spring. Because we saw that in late summer. We saw a dip in activity, market time expanding on listings, and I think a lot of that has to do with what kids are doing.
Can I play devil's advocate with you? For the sake of a talk show. For the sake of a talk show.
Absolutely,
You're the
please.
expert.
Yeah.
Okay. So did we see maybe not a dip, maybe a slight slowdown from, as you say, crazy insanity to just insanity in the
Yes.
summer because people were quarantined and they
Summer
were
was
eager to
slow.
get on vacation?
Summer was slow.
Is that why?
I agree. People wanted to go on vacation.
That's it, right there.
But I think also now that things are opening up a bit and kids are going back, we're going to go back to that traditional, more predictable cycle. So I do think we'll see quiet winter. Now, before COVID, the spring market was starting earlier and earlier and earlier. But I don't think we're going to break any records. I do think in terms of just like looking forward in real estate into next year, prices will continue to climb, not as intensely as they did over the past 12 months. And maybe a little bit more market time like we're seeing at Lake Monticello and in other markets as well. So not
it sounds
as
like-
intense,
it sounds
still
like more
positive,
normal.
Still positive, but I don't think it's going to be what we saw earlier this year or during COVID.
So Alex, jump in here. Tell you because I want to tackle that because
I know you do.
I
I
feel
can
very
tell.
differently
I know.
about that.
I can tell. And Yona, what are your thoughts? Daniel Pettit, what are your thoughts? Paul, what are your thoughts? Agents, what are your thoughts?
Honestly, just this last week, with the rates going up, I had more buyers chomping at the bit and quite a few good leads that are trying to get in the fourth quarter. And one of the reasons why is because there is less competition. The kids are back in school. There are less people out shopping. They want to wait till spring of next year. That's my personal
I
thought.
am doing a lot of transactions. I just think I'm special.
That's what Keith thinks every morning he wakes up. Is that right, Keith?
I say, Yona, would you do me a favor? Say I'm special. We got a dog now, so we just got a puppy.
I saw that.
Yeah, we just got
Flew in SPCA?
Flavanna SPCA. That's one of the benefits of your wife joining the board. You get a dog, and actually, it's working out really great. Yona's actually working from home today while I'm doing this to dog sit just to kind of get the dog. But now I have a dog who'll lick me in the morning, so then I know that
you're special.
That I'm special. Thank you. His name is Forrest, as in Forrest Gump.
Wonderful.
Run, Forrest, run.
I've never seen that movie.
Another Tom Hanks reference.
Another Tom Hanks.
You've never
reference.
seen Forrest
I've
Gump.
never seen that movie.
Have you
one
seen
of the-
Money Pit?
Yes.
Okay.
It's about real estate.
Yes.
I've seen it.
Well, you're so special. You don't need to watch
I don't
any of
need
this
to
stuff.
watch it.
And those of you that know me and are watching know that Forrest Gump is my favorite movie.
So I wanted to name the dog Elvis, like you're nothing but a hound dog kind of Elvis, but got shot done.
We know who's calling the
Is it a hound
shots.
dog?
It's a hound dog.
I don't know, Yona. I kind of agree with Keith.
There you go. Thank you. But
Can you counter his?
No, he can't.
I know he wants to.
Now I know why you and Beck can get along so well.
He wasn't necessarily bearish. You weren't bearish.
No,
not
at all.
Yeah, you weren't bearish.
I agree. This is the politician in me.
Yeah,
I agree and disagree with you at the same time.
Okay.
Right? I think to compare anything to 2020 is just
2020 is an anomaly.
we shouldn't do that.
Completely.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see more of an 18-19 market. And I looked at the numbers, 18-19, we really didn't, when we say winter, I'm talking like November, Thanksgiving to Christmas. Yeah, okay, it slowed down a little bit, but ramped up to it and ramped after it. Back in those years, if you go back and look at the numbers, it's kind of like, we said this, I think it was on last Tuesday's show, it's kind of like Christmas, right? And I was in Costco a couple of weeks ago and Christmas stuff was out. I went, really? So everything is happening much sooner than what it normally, traditionally for decades was on that stuff. But look, here's the reality. I think you're right to a certain degree, not because the buyers aren't good, not because of Alex's first-time home buyers. There's nothing for Alex's buyer to buy. That's going to impact the market. We talk about inventory, so let's pivot that to a little bit. So guys, what do we need from your perspective? Alex, I'll start with you.
Inventory. Need more folks to sell their houses.
But how are we going to do that? How can we help that?
But to counter his point, and you're the expert, I'm learning from you. You said we need more people to sell their houses, but where are they going to go? I feel like there's two different types of inventory here. I'm learning from everybody on this show. There's the newly constructed inventory, and then there's the inventory of people selling their homes. And the people that are looking to sell their homes don't have a place to go, and the newly constructed inventory is moving at a snail's pace. I learned from you, because 24% of new inventory is tied to red tape and governmental bureaucracy and paperwork.
By the time it gets to market, any sort of main level living arrangement is minimum $500,000. And when you're talking to someone who paid way less for the current home they're in, even though it's twice the size, it makes no sense. So when you see these numbers, you see 37% of millennials, 38% of millennials are in the market, and we see boomers at 32%. I think it's even lower in Charlottesville, though I have no data to prove that, because I've talked to many boomers that have nowhere to move to. So they're sitting in the homes that other people do need. There's nowhere for them to go. They're totally priced out of their communities.
Yes and no. Again, more politics. Yes and no. Actually, they're going over the other side of the mountain.
That's coming in on the feed. Keep going with that thought.
They're going over to the other side of the mountain. As you know, Realtor Magazine, number 2 was Charlottesville area, number 3 was the Waynesboro area.
For boomers to move to.
For boomers to move to. But what they're able to do, because they have a little bit more room, they can build these single family or duplex units that have masters on the first floor at a price point that I, as a boomer, can afford. But you're right. Where are you going to go? We're working on 3 transactions right now. Boomers selling, and we use the seller possession tool.
Yeah,
and it worked great. But
offer insight to the non-sophisticated on seller possession.
So I'm going to let Alex do that, because Alex.
One of the last deals I did at Lake Monticello was a seller possession? Yeah, so they continue to live in the home.
To talk about how
after
that
it's been sold.
For how long?
You really don't want to do it for more than a month if you can, but 3 months isn't unusual, especially if a home's being built. I've seen 6 months if it's being built.
Yeah.
It just depends on what they need in the house.
So how does that help, Alex? How does that help for those who are not steeped in the industry like the 3 of us, or the 4 of us, or the 5 of us, including Liza the dog?
Yeah, don't forget Liza.
Liza the dog.
That noise that you heard back there was Liza. Yeah.
So to talk about that conversation, I am a boomer.
How a seller possession is going to help?
Tell me how that's going to work.
So let's say you're the buyer, because that's the one who it's adversely going to affect. It's still you're still going to get the interest rate. You're still going to own the home. You're not going to be able to live in it. But ultimately, you might get the house that you probably want without the rates continuing to go up. You might get it the time of year that you want. It's gonna probably help the seller a little bit more. Let's be honest here. The seller.
Yeah, but I'm the seller, and I don't want to put my house on the market, Alex, because I don't know where I want to go. I may go to one of Jason's new construction units in Spring Creek or something like that, and right now they're not going to be ready until first quarter next year. I want to sell it now.
Right.
Thinking, what do I
Well,
do?
and you're going to need the funds in order to pay the builder
That's
for that.
right.
So that, again, is going to be,
So I can buy a new bike. Buy a new house.
it's going to be in your favor that you have your funds freed up. You're renting at probably not overly an inflated rate the house that you previously owned, and you're going to get the house once it's delivered.
So what I'm hearing you is what I can do is I can sell it to Jason, who's representing the buyer, to his client, and then we're going to negotiate on the front end a monthly rate for 3 months or 6 months to give me an opportunity. And Jason's buyer, right, who's desperately trying to find a house, is cool with it. We're doing quite a few.
You might lose a few buyers. If you're the seller and you need to do seller possession, you're going to lose a few buyers. There are people that immediately want to move in 30 to 60 days.
Sure, and we've seen some in the MLS now that say, well, we saw this a few months ago, contract contingent on seller finding a home.
Bravo.
So there's not even seller possession. However, I think the main point here is the fact that we've spent this long talking about how someone could possibly sell their home and not be homeless is the problem with
Shows
our
it's a
market.
problem.
That's exactly right.
And even the people who are qualified, meaning they are going to go rent, I had some clients, they're going to go jump on their boat for the next few years. These are sellers that can take advantage of this market.
Did you need somebody to carry something?
They're all set. But, there are so many sellers out there that would love to move that simply can't, because this is hard to wrap your mind around. There's so much uncertainty in it. Also, for the people who are qualified and ready to go, these homes they take longer to get to market. Every single thing they want to fix, it takes twice as long to get the materials.
How about moving? Finding a mover right now.
Getting a new dishwasher in a home before it can go on market. These things have become incredibly challenging. And due to a variety of issues, I even heard this fascinating report the other day about the power surges they're doing in China to meet emission standards. They're just cutting down power in factories left and right randomly.
We talked about this on Tuesday.
It's through March or April of next year. This is all going to impact someone's ability to be able to move.
Yeah, their production times went from 1 to weeks, 1 week to many weeks. Plus, it's got to get shipped across the ocean and so forth.
We got a client, and you guys, we talked about this before the show, a remodeling client in the area that has over 100 active remodeling projects and is booking projects out to March of next year.
Yeah.
And you want to start a business in this area, start a handyman business. How hard is it to find a handyman to get projects and deals to the table? And if you do,
you call Interstate Interstate Service Company, because they have folks that'll show up on time because they're coming over to my house to take care of a couple of issues on that.
Interstate Service Company, a home's best friend. So we got comments coming in for you guys. Quentin Beckham's got some comments coming in. First, he says, we're very fortunate to have some very, very good agents at Keller Williams. That's for darn sure. And then Quentin Beckham adds this: I think we will continue to have the waves of transactions, but the tidal wave that was the pandemic is really pretty much over. Prices are not going to plummet and rates may tip up a touch, but the water is receding. Evan Hansen, buyer attitudes will shift from rates and pandemic shift psychology, but isn't inventory still the largest problem we have? 100%. Beckham, I think you are right, but also think as the pandemic psyche fades, people will feel more mobile and the factors that create listings will become more prominent again. And Hansen, responding to Beckham, be careful with seller possessions longer than 60 days. This would technically move you into an investment product.
That's right.
Most conventional products stipulate moving in within 60 days.
That's true.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great asset. Great question to that. Some of the ones that we're working with are cash, right? So folks that sold their home up in Northern Virginia, New York, or whatever, and they're coming down to retire.
They're bringing lots of equity into the market.
Lots of equity into the market. So speaking of equity, inventory is exactly that. Right now I've just learned something today from you two gentlemen. There's another stress on inventory is, this lack of supply of material to get the house ready for the market. So we've got that. We've just got people staying in their homes 10 years versus 5 years, which is putting pressure on it. And then, as Jerry has aptly said, to bring new product on the market is just a tremendous amount of red tape. I do a little consulting about this. You're looking 4 to 6 years to bring a project on board. And
That's bananas.
It's insane.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's just pressure what in God's holy name are we going to do to relieve that pressure? I'm honestly don't know the answer, and I'm looking for a little coaching from Jason.
I think that what has to give is just more people are going to rent than want to rent, and people are going to pay more for housing than they ever have in the past.
Ray
Whether it's
Cadell says
renting or
not
ownership.
everyone's destined to be a homeowner in this market.
I think
Totally
so.
true.
It's not right for everybody. Absolutely.
If you're not willing to pay to have the most expensive house on the street, regardless of it being maybe the nicest, then it's not the right market for you.
And I think too, when we look at renting, so in America, the American dream is all wrapped up in home ownership, and it's been a wonderful thing that has really boosted our industry, that concept. But essentially, when people rent, they are purchasing flexibility. And there are many people who are not sure where they're going to be over the next few years. And it might be best for them not to be in this market right now. Yes, they're going to see their rental rates climb, I believe, year over year. Absolutely. But they're purchasing that flexibility. And there's nothing inherently wrong in something like that.
Well, particularly people my age and up, right? Yona and I are literally having this conversation. Once our daughter and second daughter gets settled in where they're going to live, maybe instead of owning something in that other area so we can go visit them, we might rent because he's a doctor, he's going to move, right? It's I don't want to have a long-term investment in there. On the other hand, it's pretty hard since we're in this business not to look at that. But you're 100% right. It's not for, but the pool of buyers, even if you filter off people who should not be, who are not want to do,
It's still out of whack.
it's still way out of whack, right? And,
Yes.
And Jerry asks me this question all the time. Interest rates go up. Alex and Keith build this great subdivision and bring 1,000 units on the market tomorrow. The demand is just so great that that's going to have little impact. Do you disagree with
No,
that? or-
I absolutely agree that as an industry, we're all going to work to find the answer to creating more inventory.
Oh, great answer.
Um,
Just like we did with COVID.
Yeah.
I just don't see that new inventory,
I don't know
newly
where it's gonna come
constructed.
from.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
No,
Where
it's
that-
not. It's not going to keep.
Not in Charlottesville or Albemarle County. I mean, 5% of Albemarle County, learn this from Susan Steinler, 5% of Albemarle County is allocated to residential and commercial development, and not all the land is developable.
No, it means long drives for most people.
Yeah.
Much longer drives than we've been used to, right? And
Yeah.
because you mentioned Lake Monticello, Waynesboro, but we've seen people go even further out, right? Like-
Stanton,
Absolutely.
Buckingham.
Yeah.
Orange, yeah. And
Gordonsville's fantastic. Our friend Chris Henry
Yep.
doing big time projects in Gordonsville. That's going to be a great spot.
So, Jerry asks me this question all the time, and I can't get into too many details because it happened over the weekend, but where do you guys think the next big crozet is going to be? Start with you, Alex. The next big growth area.
It's Zion's or Scottsville, and Scottsville less of one because it's going to take so much time to make it happen.
Well, and
But Zion's, it's
Scottsville-
already happening.
We love Scottsville. I love Scottsville. I love the Scottsville district. I'll leave it at that. But Scottsville's got.
Geez, I wonder why.
Scottsville's got some things. Not necessarily working against it, maybe challenges.
Yeah, challenges.
With the roads.
With the road. Route
I mean,
20
Route 20 is
Eminent
frightening
domain
sometimes.
An eminent domain on historic estates and mansions is not going to go in
It's-
the county's favor.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Well said.
Talk about that. Why did you say that?
Because the road expansion.
Because I drive 20 south just about every day. It's a one-way in, one-way out. Unless you come from Fluvanna, what is that, 6?
Or 53?
53.
Or 53.
Yeah.
But still, you've essentially got 3 two-lane roads going in and out.
Of Lake Monticello.
No, we're talking about Scottsville.
Got it.
Yeah, and they're not straight.
Well, and this is the same
Yeah.
problem that they already have in Crozet.
Right.
So,
Well said, brother.
talking about lessons learned, Scottsville, I think, Crozet had the land, they had the room for the development. Scottsville has the same things. I just think it's going to be much slower.
The infrastructure.
And they're going to have a lot more hurdles to get over. And other than that, Zion's Crossroads. Zion's Crossroads is already showing signs of, now their water is an issue, but they're already showing signs of the corridor between Charlottesville and Zion's and Richmond is getting closer and closer by the month. I go to Zion's Lowe's. I live in the Scottsville district, and I go to the Zion's Lowe's. It's just as quick as it or long as it is for me to get to the one up 29, 25 minutes.
Brittany Gray Jason is one of my favorite realtors to work with. He is fantastic. That's
Thank you,
Brittany Gray
Brittany.
watching. So this is a question that's come in from Leslie. She says, Scottsville is absolutely fantastic. There's new neighborhoods being planned by Blenheim, but until we get the roads in place, the area cannot sustain more people.
It's true.
The struggle with those roads is the right-of-ways. The right-of-ways go back to, way back to the 1700s. There's just not enough room to turn them into anything more than what they are. And with Lake Monticello, you have 3 or 4 different ways to get into Charlottesville if one of them happened to be
Right.
broken down.
How about Gordonsville? Anybody want to chime in on Gordonsville?
I love Gordonsville. I think in terms of near, like when we think about Crozet, I do think more of Zion Crossroads.
Yeah.
It's just, there's more space there to expand. They've got some great amenities in place. They have the highway right there. I think Gordonsville is outstanding because the drive is beautiful. So by the time people do get out there, they're already kind of happy. They've got the great town there. They've got some new construction going on. I'm just not as aware of as much drive and force behind it as what is going on with Zion Crossroads.
I think that
And schools too. Let's
But I think the hybrid that we're going to end up going to, hybrid of working from home and working in an office, will turn Gordonsville into a hot button area. And I think what you're going to see is Zion's Crossroads and Gordonsville kind of growing together a little bit, just like you just mentioned, Alex, the Richmond and Charlottesville area coming together. But tell me why you think Zion's Crossroads is going to be.
well, location, like you just said, Jason. Proximity to 64.
Richmond, Shore Pump.
Yeah.
Yes.
Spring Creek is just a great example of a neighborhood that has boomed and blossomed. Great golf.
Spring Creek is on fire, right, Smith?
Great golf course too.
I can't get into details, but
You don't have to do this.
there's a new construction starting to go over there on par with price point, on par with some of Albemarle County's numbers, which was very shocking to me. I mean, I remember when Spring Creek, you could buy something for a couple $100,000.
Right, yeah.
On par with Farmington, Keswick, Glenmore,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. On par with that, which is just what we've been talking for 2.5
and Louisa County.
in Louisa County.
Which is one of the biggest and fastest growing counties around us right now.
It is. The reason I've been pushing Zion's Crossroads, and it's just, when VDOT,
Pettit says they have water. Daniel Pettit, Mustache Dan Pettit.
well, they have water and then they don't have water.
Yeah, that's an
Right.
interesting subject right there.
But I'll take a dive into that. But Alex, I'd love you to finish your train of thought.
Yeah.
I'm your buyer client and I'm interested in Zion's Crossroads. Tell me why I should move there.
Again, location, whether you're going to Richmond or Charlottesville, they now actually have quite a few. I mean, there's a few restaurants there. If you haven't been to the Mariachi Mexican restaurant,
Johnny Ornelas is
Yeah,
watching.
it's
that's
actually
too.
quite good.
We love
Yeah.
you, Johnny Ornelas.
Great family.
10 years ago, was Walmart even there? I think the Walmart was there, but that's just about all you had. You had the 2 gas stations and you had the Walmart. So things are building up. Another great reason is the size of the lot. If you're going to build, you can get a great piece of land out in Zion's Crossroads in Louisa. And if you're going to move further out, you probably are going to get a little bit more house, a little bit more land.
So 20 to 30 years ago, Louisa County made a commitment to put water there, and that's what grew this whole thing. So what, Jason, from your perspective, why do you think Zion's Crossroads is going to be the next hot spot? Or is it already the next hot spot?
I think so. I think when you look at prices in Old Trail, they're pretty stunning.
Yeah.
The land
Yeah.
is incredibly expensive, right?
For a postage stamp lot.
And do you even get a view?
Well, until they build the homes,
Right.
you have the view.
I love Old Trail. I'm not knocking
No,
it.
it's
Yeah,
beautiful.
we love Old Trail. Yeah.
It's a gorgeous community. I think the other challenge is the later phases that are now available to us to show to people feel quite tight, to put it in a really nice way.
That was nice.
Because they
Yes.
are. Yeah.
I can't imagine what it's going to be like to drive through some of those phases when people are actually all parked on the street because there's not enough room in the garage. So definitely Spring Creek is worth the drive, I think, for many clients. And it's a straight shot down a great highway. Like, literally, you don't have to hold the steering wheel. And availability in land, cheaper land. Really, that's what it comes down to. So I could see them easily having a community that's going to compete in terms of price point with stuff we're seeing like in Keswick or Glenmore. There is demand for that, especially, you know, when you go into Glenmore, unless you go with one particular builder or two, you know, some of the homes are a little longer in the tooth. And to get something brand new, which is what a lot of people want who can afford those, they can live anywhere. I think it's great. They need more like that.
Well, that's where I live. And I will say this, that Stanley Martin, which we love Stanley Martin. We love Stanley Martin. I'll emphasize that again. We love Stanley Martin on this program. Stanley Martin and that new construction that's coming to market, which is a new product between 2,000 and 3,000 square feet with an 8 and 9 in front of it, is legitimately driving ridiculous value for homes like mine that were built in 2000. Because you got twice the real estate and 3 times the lot size.
Right.
Versus the Stanley Martin product.
But for Jason's point, if you add your 25% of red tape.
That's why it is. And pinch supply chains.
And the lot costs are so high. That's the reason why Spring Creek is moving, because you're 50% or plus or minus, depending on the lot, what your lot cost may be at Glenmore for pretty much the same place, right? For an extra, 10-minute drive on 64, pretty easy.
And closer to Shore Pump in Richmond.
Shore Pump in Richmond, that's exactly right. You know, back on the water thing, I've been involved in it for 3 decades. The good news is water starting to flow from the prison, the DOC part of it. Fluvanna County put its backbone in it, but they're waiting on the substantial amount of water to come from the James, which hopefully is in the next 12 to 24 months based on the conversations I've had. But once that starts happening, this is going to grow. And the reason I know that is, again, VDOT built this divergent diamond interchange in there to handle the traffic. The other thing is thankfully, the Louisa County and Fluvanna are working together in a small area plan where they're working together to grow that area. It's just going to be the next, whatever you want to call it, Zion's Crossroads. But I believe Gordonsville will ramp on that end of it. So, any pearls of wisdom, Alex, that you want to share that folks should?
You're putting me on the spot here.
No. I know you well enough to know that.
Trust the process. Trust your realtor. If you're a home buyer, keep knocking. If you're a home seller, you don't have to do every single thing perfect to put your house on the market right now. I don't think.
Ooh, that's a great.
That is very good. And we have to navigate this line very carefully here, Keith Smith.
I'll navigate it very carefully, but I somewhat disagree with that. I think maybe 6 months ago, you know, it's kind of like we talk about back in the great time of unpleasance, or prior to the time of unpleasantly, this cup of coffee could have bought a house. I think 6, 7 months ago, if it had a roof and it were standing, it sold. I disagree with that. I think you need to go to Jason's point about getting the house a little spurred up a little bit, get a new dishwasher, bring somebody like
if you can. And the reason I said that is don't try to do everything, because if you're going to wait for the supply chain, then you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. But things like carpet and painting.
That's exactly right.
You don't have to do everything perfect. If you're waiting for an appliance, you shouldn't be waiting.
What do you think, Jason?
I think, you know, obviously we want homes to look good when they go on the market.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely, right? And if they cannot, we want to make sure they're priced accordingly, they're priced fairly, so that, you know, someone can come in, bring their vision, and take advantage of it because they know they can handle that or take
realistic
care of that issue. Absolutely, absolutely. In terms of pearls of wisdom, you know, like you said, trust your agent. If you don't know an agent, interview a few before you make your decision, and ask good questions. And really also try to judge your agent based on the questions they ask you, because that's often how we find out someone's true nature, I think. Fellow agents, keep in touch with your folks, make your calls, and really, I've had a great couple of transactions with you last year that were outstanding, and I think to fellow agents, just be kind and considerate to one another. It's a tough business.
Let me ask you this, guys. I'm going to paint a picture for you and then go anywhere you want to go. Realtor Magazine, as we acknowledged earlier in the show, baby boomers are moving to the Charlottesville metro area at the second highest clip in the entire country. Waynesboro is number 3. The University of Virginia has gone on record saying they will hire more people and they will admit more students than they ever have. Those new hirees and those students need places to live, and UVA pays fairly well. We all live in Charlottesville and Central Virginia because it's freaking awesome. We have outside, we have hiking, we have nature, we have wineries, we have breweries. I'm a huge sports fan. I love the restaurants. We have Capshaw with the music scene here. We got the downtown mall. This place is freaking awesome, right? It's awesome. What is going to say or keep this market from changing? I mean, I only see this as getting crazier, prices going up. I see the first-time home buyer having to start thinking about homes with a 4 in front of it.
Oh, yeah.
Very soon.
Easily.
I don't see how someone like Keith and Yona, and just talking out loud, are going to be able to sell their home and find another one and stay in the market. I mean, part of the reasons why you're probably wanting to stay.
Listen to the man.
I mean, am I right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you sell your home, where are you going to go?
Well,
You're going to pay 15, 20% more than what you sold your house for. You got supply chains that are at all-time pinch levels. You got developers that can't bring homes to market.
Yep.
Our remodeling companies are booking deals out 6 months in advance.
That's if you're lucky.
When they can find a subcontractor to work for them.
Right, yeah.
I mean, this market is crazy. Anywhere you guys want to go on that?
I think, I work with a lot of folks moving here from out of state or out of country, and about half of those that I talk to just cannot afford Charlottesville. That's just how it is. But they see it in a magazine, or they heard it's a great place to retire to,
Right.
and then they find out how much it actually costs to have the primary bedroom on the same level with your laundry room and your kitchen. It's astounding. That being said, glass half full, half of the folks I talk to can. So it's just going to become a more expensive market, and the folks who can come in here and get what they want are bringing equity from more expensive places, typically northeast or far out west.
I don't mean to interrupt. The people across the street from me sold a 1,200 square foot townhome for over 1.3 million in Northern Virginia.
Yeah.
Came down to our neighborhood with literally a bag of money, paid all cash for their home, put $100K plus into the home,
Yeah.
and still had over $250,000 of delta left.
To them, it's a cheap market.
They said it's cheap.
It is. And so that is who will be moving to Charlottesville in terms of retirement. I think the folks who are coming here to work are going to be driving further than they expected before. Before it used to be, are you okay with 15-minute drive, 20-minute drive? And I think now we need to be talking about a 40, 45-minute drive for folks who actually are starting out and building a career here.
Well, they got to make sacrifices.
And that's not unusual in some places in this country. It's just that this has now become one of those places.
I mean,
in
has this
country.
become New York City? Has this become Greenwich? Has this become Southampton?
Well, my daughter.
Long Island?
My daughter lives next to Greenwich, so I know that all too well.
Stanford?
Stanford? Norwalk. But you said, I'm listening to you, Alex. You said sacrifices.
Yeah, you've got to make sacrifices.
So talk about that.
So let's say you're a first-time home buyer, or any type of buyer, and you have your heart set on an acre lot at $325,000. You might need to look at an attached unit and live there for 2 to 5 years, build the equity, see if things cool off a little bit, and then buy a house out in the country. Everybody has, the American dream of a little house out in the country. You might be in a condo. You might be in an attached unit. You might not be in the city of Charlottesville. You might be at Lake Monticello. You've got to be willing to make sacrifices, and that's why us as realtors really need to coach our clients for realistic expectations.
How about this one from Brian? As realtors, are we now required to expand our footprint to markets we've never considered to do service to our clients? That's a hell of a question.
It is a hell of a question.
Alex, you want to tackle that?
It depends on the situation. And sometimes I'm willing, and sometimes if I don't know a market, I might not be the best realtor for you. I'm not afraid to admit that. We have a great referral network amongst realtors where you can refer the sale out to another realtor that might do a better job.
So talk about that. What does that look like? How does that work?
So let's say you move anywhere in the country. For those of you that don't know about the referral process, if you move anywhere in the country and you want to move somewhere and you don't know an agent, you can ask your agent or that brokerage to find you an agent in the area that you're looking to buy.
So in the Phoenix market, you can easily specialize. You can build a career out of one subdivision because a builder goes in, builds 2,000 homes. There are 4 floor plans. Yeah. You specialize and you're all set. Here I learned, wow,
There's some agents doing that.
There are some agents who
Denise is doing that in Old Trail.
But it is rare. It is the exception by far. And here, most agents will drive about 45 minutes, give or take, to meet their clients' needs, about the edges of our MLS. Mm-hmm. So I think that, maybe agents who thought, well, I'm just going to be a Charlottesville agent, now need to think, I need to drive down to the lake, I need to drive to Waynesboro once in a while. And I tend to believe that I will go where my clients need to go.
I drove an hour and a half this weekend.
You and I do this. We will go for a long haul if need be. And I think for an agent, if Brian's an agent who's asking, it's about just being strategic in the amount of those clients that you take on to handle at any given time.
Can't be spinning your wheels driving to Lynchburg to show a client outside of your MLS.
Diversity matters, right, across the board. Diversity matters across the board. Mm-hmm. In this business, diversity matters. If you want to laser focus, some agents do that. They specialize. God bless them.
Yeah.
We on the other hand don't. We're all over the spectrum because we just want to take care of the client, right? Yeah. And I know that's you two folks want to do that, but I want to wrap this back a little bit to what Alex said. And you brought up something that we've been talking about for a long time, Jerry and I. We talked about it on Friday with the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors at our Coffee with the Candidates roundtable. On that end of it, you said you might have to look at a townhome, you might have to look at a condo. That's called the missing middle. What if that isn't there? Mm-hmm. Right? What's going to happen to that? Are they going to drive 2 hours now to go out? This is why
more affordable condos are, in many cases, not warrantable, and it's very hard for a new home buyer to get financing for a condo like that. So that's, again, a kind of a ripple effect of the Great Recession.
I got an example for that. Throw it back to you. Have an investment property in the Villas at Southern Ridge. Bart Fry, the developer from Virginia Beach, owns over 50% of the condos in the Villas at Southern Ridge, which is making it extremely difficult for financed buyers to get into this development. And this is, frankly speaking, the entry price point in the Southern Albemarle 5th Street Extended Corridor. And unless you're an all-cash buyer or a deep-pocketed buyer,
find a mortgageable.
Yeah, it's very difficult to get into this spot now.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think, in smarter people than I will know the answer to this, I think the guidelines are there to try to protect, lenders and first-time buyers and whatnot. However, it's perpetuating this cycle of where the community will just become dominated by the investor space, which is basically turning a large part of our market into forcing them into becoming renters when they could become buyers building equity. Thank you.
So I just looked at the clock for the first
I'm having
time.
so much fun. Aren't you having fun?
It flew.
I love our Mondays.
Yeah.
I love our round
The
tables.
agents love the Monday show.
So what are the questions we have in there? Let's see if we can get Alex.
So Michael Guthrie giving Alex Tiscornia some props.
There you go.
Alex Tiscornia knows his stuff, not just with real estate, but also things to do around Charlottesville. That's from Michael Guthrie, former CAR president. Christopher Eagle, we call you the best dressed agent in CAR, Christopher Eagle. We frequent Rhett's Bar and Grill very often. Zion's Crossroads is hot and will continue to be hot. El Mariachi, if you guys have not been to El Mariachi, is phenomenal.
Big burrito.
It's phenomenal. So you have 5 firms that I've counted so far, and I think I've missed some watching this program so far. This is a question that's come in again. This one's from Spencer, and Spencer says, Crozet's at capacity, Gordonsville potentially close to capacity, Zion's Crossroads is at capacity. Get ready for Buckingham to be the next community. Can you get your guest take on Buckingham County?
I see it on the other side of the river. I really do. If Scottsville can't handle it, they're going to go to the other side of the river.
But don't you have the same traffic problem, though?
You are going to have the same traffic problem, but the prices in Buckingham.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Probably the most affordable in Central Virginia.
Are we going to push all the way to Dillon? Is that what's going to happen? Because there's nothing else in between Scottsville and Dillon, last I checked.
And that's why I'm promoting this missing middle, even though
Yeah.
we had the condo conversation, but, townhomes, duplexes, when we were bookending, large, single-family detached homes, and we love them, and we love to help folks buy those homes, but if there's nothing in the middle, this missing middle is not a physical thing in my mind. It's a fiscal
Yes,
thing.
absolutely.
Right? But what do you think about Buckingham?
I think if someone's looking for just a smidge of privacy and
Scotch?
Scotch, I would go for a
Smidge,
Scotch. A Scotch of privacy, and they don't mind the drive. It's an excellent opportunity because, like you said, the value is there. So it's becoming, whereas we might have gone to Southern Albemarle before, into Fluvanna for something like that, now we're into Buckingham.
People won't believe, though, back to Scottsville, the amount of land that's on the other side of Carter Mountain. UVA owns so much land in between 53 and 20. It's insane. And, talk about a missing link.
Well, this just came in from Lauren. What's UVA's role in the affordability issue that's been created in Charlottesville and Central Virginia? They seem to be the primary driving force. Please ask your guest this.
That's a
You
good
want to tackle that, Alex?
I don't.
Jason Kirby, you want to tackle that?
That one's starting to get my brain working.
So we have to stop it right now. Anybody who wants to use Alex now realize he's super intelligent.
Well, okay,
I need some time to think on that.
I'll go down that road.
Good answer.
Can I go down that road and then throw it to you guys?
Yeah, well, you know how I feel about it.
They're hiring more people than ever. They're admitting more students than ever before. One of the main reasons people are coming to Charlottesville is UVA. I went to UVA and stayed here because I fell in love with Charlottesville because of the best 4 years of my life while a student at UVA. I think UVA needs to rise to the occasion and start realizing that this invisible hand that's driving the market, that's extremely tangible to all of us at this table, this invisible hand is being led by the university. It's UVA's hand that's driving this market. You disagree?
I'm gonna twist that a little bit and throw it to Jason. So of the last 12 months, 24 months, how many of your buyers coming into this area were former UVA graduates coming back?
Great question.
A lot.
Great question.
UVA is really a cornerstone. It draws so many people back into this community, whether they're reaching retirement or they're just ready to have their first child and they think, hey, we love Charlottesville.
We had 4 great years.
Right. So they definitely come back for this. It's incalculable as to what it means for our community. I think one of the direct impacts on the market that it has, especially for first-time home buyers or second-time home buyers now, is dorm costs are such that quite a few of my clients buy homes for their kids for the 4 years, and that has eaten up a chunk of the market.
Ooh, go down that
Charlottesville.
road. Tell us about that.
Well, anyone who would have bought that home and lived here and worked here now cannot, because they are typically, folks who can afford this, good for them, but they've got cash.
Sure.
And it's a simple calculation and investment. They look at what they're going to shell out in dorm costs, or they look at 4 years of a rising market. And possibly their other exit strategy is if the market has been flat, they have an outstanding rental until the market kind of gets them out of that property. And so that happens a lot in Charlottesville.
So I'm going to ask a follow-up question to that, but I'd like to get Alex's take on that. Are you seeing...
This show is hopping, fellas. I just want you guys, it's hopping.
So I know what that's hopping is when his fingers are going
It
this
is hopping.
on the bat watch
Yeah.
and on.
And you came in with double coffees. I like it.
Double coffee.
It's a new.
No, this is mine.
No. He
knows what I mean.
He knows exactly
Yeah.
what I mean. It usually takes the caffeine a little while to kick in, so.
But you were ready to go from out of the gate.
But I've been coached to have 2 coffees
Yeah.
before I show up. But Alex, from your perspective, right? Do you see a lot of that coming in?
Yes, lots of retirees, second homes. They don't even have to be retirees. Just the UVA buyer is so prolific. You see it all the time.
So I'm going to ask the question that I've been asked because I sit on UVA's affordable housing council. I'm a part of that council on that end of it. So I was asked this question. I'm going to throw it to you. If UVA, this is asked from top executives from UVA, if we bring second years on campus.
On grounds.
On grounds, thank you. So it shows you how much I get into trouble when I say that in those meetings. what impact do you think that's going to have on the market? Is that going to help raise inventory or not? That's 2,000 kids, right? I think, or something like that. What do you think, guys?
It's going to
Alex?
open up a little bit.
A little bit, but again,
I
I
don't
think
think it'll be enough.
I think
So both of you did this?
I think if they haven't already, if the kids that'll go in are ones that are already in a purchased real estate product for them for 4 years, and those kids are probably in a condo community that already is dominated by investors. So
Eagles Landing?
Eagles Landing, JPA,
all the
I don't
JPA.
see it impacting the people who need homes and need to get a home loan. No.
I don't think, Alex.
I think for investors it's great.
I agree. I agree completely.
So you think as investors, why is that?
Because there'll be some loosening of inventory and they can acquire some more product. It's not healthy for an owner-occupant market.
Yeah.
But it's some extra.
So I think-
it's extra chum in the water for investors.
So, go ahead, Alex.
I was just going to talk about the condos on JPA. I mean, they're such a hot commodity.
Yeah.
And it's a 960 square foot, 1-bed, 2-bed.
Essentially a studio in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and they're outdated to like the 80s and the 90s. I mean, and
But it's walking distance to grounds.
I know. And a UVA student, it's great for 4 years, and if their parents hold on to the investment even longer, it's, it's-
Stacking paper.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think bringing second years, as they're called, Keith,
Thank you.
onto grounds
I was just
is
looking to
going to
graduate
free
high school,
is
guys,
going is going to free up enough. I mean, that corridor is just so dense; it's not going to fill it up. You're right. Cash investors are just going to come in, and
I think so.
yeah,
Well, I think what's going to happen, and
because the
this is-
affordability of those units on that corridor.
so the thought was that it would help affordable housing, and I agree with you two gentlemen. My instant response was, no, it's not.
Fixed lending, I mean, not fixed lending, it's not broken. It's a lot of people that can get loans, but in many cases, the product that we need to sell them, 20 years ago, you could buy a condo as your first home. And you could do FHA, you could do 3% down, whatever it was. A lot of people did that.
So it's going to be a
Sense.
reverse of what we're seeing people going to Buckingham County, right? What you're going to see is, okay, the second years come on, so maybe the third and the fourth years and the folks that are in master's and doctor programs are just going to move closer to the unit. They're just going to fill up with folks that circumference is just going to shrink a little bit.
Yeah.
That's all and it may release a little bit of inventory way out of that circumference.
And second home buyers, I think, too, will swoop in and like grab that condo they wanted near UVA for games. If they've wanted for a long time.
I don't agree with that. I just sold a condo over there that was on the market for 1,500 days. It was really hard, very close to downtown. For people my age, that's
To the corner?
like right, real close to the stadium. People my age won't want that because where am I going to go, right? I don't want to go to the corner with a bunch of kids, right? Where I'm going to go is the downtown mall. Well, I'd rather go get if I'm going to spend that kind of money on a condo, I'll go get something by the downtown mall.
Yeah.
With that, I'll spend that kind of
Yeah,
money.
but you're going to spend 5x more.
I might be able to afford it.
Here's a good question from Mustache
Not
Dan
me,
Pettit.
not me, I mind you.
Sure, your hypothetical
Yeah,
client.
for the sake of a talk show, we get it. Mustache Dan Pettit, and why don't we close on this? We're at, guys, you guys have
Oh my
crushed it today. Crushed it. Mustache Dan Pettit, do you track your real estate overhead? What percentage has it gone up to meet customer client needs, having to drive further to find homes for people?
Great question.
Want me to go?
Yeah, go for it. I'm pondering on it. I'm chilling out.
I think when it comes to us measuring overhead, definitely. Deals are, when we look at managing a transaction and we look at that emotional and time effort we put in, we also put in a financial effort into it as well, too. If we have two parties who are at an impasse and we want to save a deal, it's not unknown to say, hey, I've got a handyman, what if I fixed item 3 and 4 that's causing the problem, and we can all get what we want here. COVID made people more stressed. There's a lot of anxiety in transactions, and so I think absolutely we've had to do more and work harder for every single transaction. And because of the shortage of inventory, absolutely you drive farther. Gas is so much more expensive than it was before.
It's going up.
Yeah, just gonna bring up gas.
Maintaining cars is a challenge, and being an agent, fortunately my car's got quite a ways to go, but I cannot imagine going out and trying to buy a car right now.
Dude, seriously.
So yes, everything costs more in terms of operating and running these businesses, I think. Not only the housing, but
Yeah,
doing
absolutely agree. And if you're writing multiple offers, you think about how many properties you've shown and how many times you're driving out. And then once you get under contract, how many times you're driving out, if it's that much further away.
I find real estate agents folks who work for themselves tend to undervalue their time,
No doubt.
Definitely.
right?
Definitely.
You know, you just mentioned, Alex, you write multiple offers. Those are hours per offer that sometimes we undervalue. We don't say, okay, our time is worth X amount of dollars. So I would encourage anybody.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to break that down, that stat.
No, because it'll get disappointing.
It'll get very disappointing.
At the end, that henceforth why we don't do this. But it's much more than gas. It's much more than, cell phone bills and so forth and so on. Definitely. It's your time, right? Your time is, if you factor in your time, you're 100% right, Alex. You might not want to go to do another deal, but it's all about helping people, though. It's not all about the money. But great question from Dan the man, the mustache man.
There you go. Today was a great show, man.
Thank you.
It was effortless.
Thank you again for having us. Appreciate it.
This man right there put it together.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank
it's thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
Thank you for doing this. I feel like I've been coached, so thank you very much, Jason.
Anytime, Keith.
This was a great way for us two to meet.
I know, finally.
Done a couple of deals together.
Oh, this is the first time you physically met?
Yeah, well, with COVID and everything.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow,
Yeah.
cool.
So-
there you go. Look at this, real talk making friends.
Yeah.
All that kind of great stuff. So anything you want to close up, Alex? Anything you want to say?
I think the last thing I'll go off is one of the things that Jason said, which goes full circle, is, you really got to trust, listen, and communicate well with the other agent on the other side once you are under contract.
Absolutely.
It just means so much when you have somebody working towards the same common goal. And sometimes you got to budge on which communication style you take. Some people like text, some people like email, some people like the phone, whatever way they like to do business. Be a team player. You'll get the job done, and it's a lot more smoother.
Amen.
Yeah, we oftentimes, I think, we put ourselves into the transaction and we start saying we when I'm talking to you, but I'm not my client.
Right.
Right, and so I think once we begin to do that and we associate with the client at that point, we aren't able to find middle ground and work together.
Right.
So I think, and we're also forgetting that we're here doing a service
Absolutely.
to our client. And as soon as we start identifying and feeling like we're in a battle, we're no longer helping our clients. Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've been using this term for 2.5 years, 200 and some odd shows we're at now, trusted advisor, right? These two gentlemen are excellent at it, trusted advisors. Getting to the point of contract is a hard thing, but that's only when the work really just starts.
Absolutely.
Right?
Definitely.
And the real work is getting it to closing and handing the keys to a friend, or because you become very friendly with folks.
Absolutely.
And say thank you and move on. So guys, great show. I can't believe it's almost 12 o'clock and this gentleman has a show to do in
Let's call it 42 minutes.
42 minutes.
Yeah, 42 minutes. So this is Real Talk, guys, presented by Yes Realty Partners, presented by...
Closure Title and Ally Property Management.
That's right, and interstate service companies. Alex Tiscornia and Jason Kirby were on fire today. We are back at 12:30 with the I Love Seville show with 3 nonprofits. We'll have a nonprofit roundtable today, and we'll talk about the challenges of being a nonprofit during COVID and in a market like this where we have a proliferation of nonprofits in Charlottesville and Central Virginia. Tomorrow on Real Talk, you have
Just you and me, man.
Batman and Robin.
We're doing Batman and Robin.
I'm excited for that.
So are we going to be this far away from each other?
We're 9 feet and change.
There you go.
9
Love
feet
it.
and change. Thank you kindly for joining us. Look at the businesses and brands at the bottom of the screen. Support the businesses and brands on the bottom of the screen. They are the icons in the business. Thank you kindly for joining us. We will now see you in 40 minutes on the I Love Seville show. Take care. Bye-bye. Dude, you guys are great. Seriously,
Thank you.
I pounded
Sorry,
around
I kept
all
not
around.
talking into the mic.